Welcome to MKUSUAL. It's like MK Ultra, but more normal. I'm Nick. I'm here with Dennis, who is surrounded by darkness constantly.
I am surrounded by darkness. Dude, I have an exciting topic for you.
Okay.
You actually sent me this video. We're going to watch it. I've cut it up. We're going to let the audience watch it.
Okay.
And then we're going to discuss UFO summoning.
Interesting.
All right. So here we go.
And he said, "You've got to meet with me and this guy." I came while he was working on that. He was interviewing a former DOD contractor who had worked for them for decades and said, I've got a lot on fentanyl, but I have this whole other thing to show you about these UAPs. And he'll just tell you his claim that in running these war games for the Defense Department, it inadvertently was summoning these UAPs, these drones. And he had tons and tons of video of it and classified them. I'm just telling you what he told me.
Let me guess. All the drone videos look like they were shot on an 8mm 1968 camera.
Wait, hold on, Jason. Mark, just explain this. So the United States is simulating war games.
Yeah.
And what is it doing exactly that's causing these drones to show up?
He did not tell me what were the
games.
What were the exact triggers but he said different things would trigger a different one, and he classified them, and he said some of them were aggressive from an electronics and would take out electronics and communications.
Wow.
And he was interested, and my friend was interested in saying, okay, can you put up a couple people, $1.5 million to recreate this and film this? And I thought about it. I even had him go meet with Reed and didn't move quickly. And then he went dark on us and stopped responding. And then some friends of mine went to a gathering and it was on multiple things related to this. And they said that this guy was there and that he summoned one of these. They kind of said it looked like a large drone. And my friends showed me some pictures that they took, which were it was at night and they were really grainy.
Come on, stop.
I'm not making this up. I'm just telling you, I didn't fund it.
Okay, good.
So all I'm saying is that I think that there's a possibility that there is
looking for
some kind of drone
believe.
That's getting, that is showing up.
Are we convinced that there has been absolutely zero unidentified object inside some vault buried deep somewhere in either the US or national state government somewhere? Are we guaranteed that the odds of that are zero? And I say no, it's non-zero.
Okay, all right. Billionaire Mark Pincus. You know what he's the CEO of?
Well, I was looking at this. It says Zynga?
Yeah. The
games?
Video game. It's video games for like social media. I used to play Zynga poker all the time. Okay. That's kind of weird. They had a video game designer dude out summoning UFOs. They were telling him about that.
Yeah, said he went to University of Pennsylvania and has an MBA from the Harvard Business School. He has a bachelor in economics from the Wharton School. Very prestigious degrees.
So I'm going to go back in time. So what he was
Farmville.
Farmville? Oh, Farmville. That's right. They had...
And Words with Friends.
They brought the Farmville Words with Friends Zynga poker guy out to just tell him randomly that we can summon UFOs from this guy. That seems odd. That might have something to say with simulation hypothesis, but I want to move on. This reminds me... I think I texted you last night about this when he sent it to me. Is that summoning or is that like honeypotting them? Is that like attracting them? Because they are Foo Fighters in World War II, were attracted to big air battles. We talked about that a little bit in our Sky Monsters episode. Luis Elizondo, who headed up ATIP, the OG whistleblower in this century so far, he proposed a project called Interloper when he was running ATIP, where they were going to take as many nuclear submarines and aircraft carriers and stuff, and they were going to put them all out in the middle of the ocean to try to honeypot UFOs.
Okay, that seems wildly dangerous.
Yeah, I know. Let's take all of our military, let's take all of our Navy and put them in one place so that we can see some lights in the sky.
China's just like, nuke.
And here's the thing, that plan almost happened. He said it went all the way, he says like all the way almost to the top. And then somebody, he doesn't know who, said, nah, we can't do that. And the reason probably is what you just said.
Like the they can't just be like, okay, everybody chill for 1 week. We're gonna invite the overlords over for dinner.
I'm sure they have assets, that we're not aware of,
Yeah.
or maybe they would group it somewhere where our stuff already is. But so the idea that you can summon or honeypot a UFO is very interesting to me. Another recent news.
Well, that's also kind of like the Stephen Greer, like the CE5.
Oh, we're gonna get into that.
Okay.
We're gonna
that
get into
to
that.
me is summoning.
Yeah, we're gonna get into straight ass summoning.
And then also the choice of the word summoning. Another thing I wanted to bring up, Pincus, the guy talking in the video, co-founded Reinvent Capital with Reid Hoffman, invests in technology and media companies. He has also been an early investor in companies like Napster, Facebook, and Twitter.
He's a big deal.
In 2022, he also joined the Giving Pledge, committing to donate the majority of his wealth to philanthropic causes.
Good for you, Mark Pincus. Now you're kind of a whistleblower. I want to point out News Nation, their whole exclusive with Jacob Barber, special operator. He says that they're summoning UFOs. He has his whole thing that he's doing. He's starting a company.
Is he using the word summoning? Because that's another thing, too, is like the semantics of the word. The word choice itself is a thing that is interesting about it.
See, I've watched like hours of stuff with him, and now you're gaslighting me because because I actually can't quote. I'm gonna look up here because they are using the word summoning.
Like colloquially, I get it, but if it's like a pattern of a word choice, that's like adds like a darker level to it.
Well, I think there is a darker level.
Okay, well,
So
let's go on.
Well, you mentioned CE5. That's
Okay.
Stephen Greer. He's been doing these protocols since the 2000s. Founder of the Disclosure Project, developed CE5, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, to summon UFOs through meditation and group intention. He's led numerous field expeditions where witnesses claim to have seen orbs, structured craft, and even experienced direct communication with entities. Jacob Barber said that when he was getting that A UFO, it was like communicating with him psychically. To me, it sounded like possession. Greer's work is controversial, but has gained mainstream attention. There's a really good documentary on Netflix about CE5.
Where it's like it shows them going out and doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So the Close Encounters of the Third Kind is where you are. Well,
I believe that's straight up contact.
That's contact, and then the fourth kind is where you are made contact with, but go willingly.
I believe.
And
so.
then the fifth kind is where you seek it out.
I believe
where you
so.
invite. Okay, and the first two kinds are anal probing.
That's right.
Okay.
We couldn't be too serious.
I've been
this episode.
I've been Googling anal probing a lot since we've been talking about this.
I also want to point out this isn't a summoning issue, but the Tic Tac, the famous 2004 Nimitz Tic Tac video, they released it in 2017. I'll never forget. That was such a big deal for me as someone who's like looked into this my whole life. I remember exactly where I was sitting when the freaking New York Times.
That was your
article
moon
dropped.
landing.
That was my moon landing. The Nimitz video was my moon landing. I stopped all work I was doing in the office and I just started telling everybody and looking up the video, and it was really cool. But the pilots and the whole Nimitz thing say that they believe this object was like anticipating their movements, reading their mind. So I just wanted to put that out there as kind of a segue between Jacob Barber, CE5, and some older stuff. Some of this stuff is older and still relevant. One famous example of summoning stuff, Skinwalker Ranch.
They were
Robert Bigelow.
provoking interactions, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I believe Robert Bigelow, actually, he got more into the psychical side of things at a certain point. So billionaire Robert Bigelow ties to the U.S. government, UFO research, owns Skinwalker Ranch before the Now guy, the History Channel guy. Various researchers and military-affiliated personnel have reported that specific rituals and mental states seem to summon UFOs. And he suggests that human consciousness itself may be key to interacting with this phenomenon. And, now might be a good time because the modern Skinwalker Ranch show and all the work they're doing out there is more what we would call scientific, like they send a rocket up, or they shine a laser, or they dig in a certain spot, they get some machinery out there. But I think this topic really begs the question of, like, where is the line between my word, let's just say, summoning, and scientific research? See what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
If shooting a rocket and a laser up gets them to show up, and then like meditating gets them to show up, what's the substantive difference?
Well, none, I would say, because there's like the scientific method is recreation of a phenomenon. That's how it's proved. Is that you are able to recreate the phenomenon. Otherwise, you're just observing it,
right?
Which doesn't necessarily prove anything scientifically.
But maybe it's when you're doing the scientific experiment, it's not actually the rocket or the lasers. Maybe it's the intention behind the experiment.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
It's like a snake eating itself a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's something I want to bring up before. Well,
Yeah.
okay. Think about human sacrifice. Is human sacrifice an experiment, or is it a summoning?
Yes.
Is it magic? Yes, exactly. It's both. It's like,
this is why this semantic thing is maybe they are choosing vague words or words that have dual meanings. And again, shout out to Sydney, come on our podcast and talk about words. She was very she had some interesting opinions about words and words as spells and magic and the paradox of language.
could science be magic?
And yes,
Could magic be science? Isn't the word pharmaceutical comes from a word for potions, basically?
It's like pharmacopoeia or something.
Yeah, there's like if you read the book of Enoch, there's like direct warnings against doing pharmacopoeia. It's something that like the fallen angels taught man, but now we just pump it out like Ozempic, Prozac, Ritalin. I think there's something to science being magic, magic being science. I'm not sure I'm not sure what the line is. If you get the same results.
Well, this is saying like, this is pharma means drug or medicine, and pia or peeing. Pee is medicine. Piss on yourself. That's what it's saying.
Drink it up.
Drink your piss. Poeing just means to prepare, so like to make drugs.
Well, yeah, I was saying like whatever word,
but
I just remember reading the book of Enoch a while ago, and there being stuff about what the fallen angels taught, and it was making medicine, making like makeup, and I believe it was like steel and different types of like warcraft creation. I think there's always been warnings. There's also a connection between like witchcraft and like potions and medicine. You know what I mean?
What's that guy? Jack Parsons? He's a rocket scientist.
That's literally the next thing we're gonna talk about.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Because he like blew himself up in the lab, but they was also he's like alleged he was doing human sacrifices and like these rituals. And
Save that for just a minute.
Okay.
Because we're moving back in time. But I just want to keep this in mind. What's the line between science and summoning, or medicine and a potion? Is it all semantics? Is it all cultural?
Well, the thought I'm having is like that, like the fallen angel things, all those things were like physical manifestations.
Mm-hmm.
And that if you were a true believer in God, and it's like what we've talked about before about like the physiology and the language that represents what seems like a paradoxical thing between our body and the external world, the internal and the external. If you're a true believer, you would believe that you would just be healed by the Spirit. Your spirit, you would not need a physical remedy. If your intention was in alignment with God and, you know.
Maybe the weak of heart, maybe the people who don't have full intention need the ritual.
But it's like, it's like a deal. You're like, you didn't earn it. You paid extra for it or something.
Right.
There's like
but there's good rituals too. There's
drink water.
You know, even Jesus like took some mud up and put it in the blind guy's eye. Like, do you really think he had to do that? It might be to help somebody with not as much faith. You know, like even like most religious rituals, confession and stuff. Like, at the end of the day, a church doesn't teach that absolutely necessarily you have to go to a confession to be. But the ritual, the sacrament, helps those without perfect contrition. It helps somebody without perfect faith. So I think it could go both ways.
Yeah, it's again like a paradox.
It is a paradox. It's a mystery.
Well, yeah, okay.
All right, so we're going to get to Jack Parsons here. That's the penultimate. But I want to throw out a shout out to Project Stargate and remote viewing.
Yes, I also had that thought too.
Ingo Swann claimed they could mentally contact extraterrestrial beings. There's also the very famous event where they remote viewed Mars.
Yeah. I'm going to grab one thing. I'm going to grab a book off the shelf because
go ahead.
This book, Limitless Mind, written by Russell Targ, who ran the remote viewing research at the Stanford Research Institute. Ingo Swann was one of the founding, he was an artist and he had like a natural ability at this, so they used him to like develop the process of doing it in like a scientific way to like recreate the experience. He could just kind of do it. He had like a natural ability and was like, you know, he's like, oh, my intuition is right more often than not, or I have a preconception of something and it comes true. But the research, the science, or the ritual is like what they were developing.
Yes.
But after 25 years, they said it's an inherent human ability. Psychic ability is inherent to human beings.
Right, where's that line, man? Like, is a spell a honed scientific observation? Is it an experiment? Is an experiment a spell?
You could say the same thing about like intentional meditation and these like transcendental states too, and that had nothing to do with science. It was more of like a practice or an exercise. Like literally you're exercising that muscle to develop it. You're practicing the skill of it. So you have an inherent ability to throw things. Mm-hmm. You just hold it and let it go, but to get accurate and throw farther and blah 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 blah, you have to practice and exercise. So like apply that same, like people realize that and then they just apply it to their mental state or their spiritual state.
Stephen Greer would tell you CE5 is scientific, but even he'll use the term meditate at the same time. Moving on to Jack Parsons. In the Babylon Working, 1946, Jack Parsons, co-founder of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
Yeah, that's what it was.
JPL, and a devoted follower of Crowley, performed rituals with L. Ron Hubbard, founder of Scientology.
Fuck, no way.
The Babylon Working was an attempt to summon extraterrestrial or interdimensional entities that Parsons believed would usher in a new age. Some UFO theorists speculate that these rituals coincided with the rise of UFO sightings in the late 40s, including the 1947 Roswell incident. Did you say he died in a big explosion?
I'm pretty sure his lab blew up.
Oh, Jackie boy. I mean, so that's a direct example of a scientist. Founded the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, but at the same time, he's doing the Babylon Working. I mean, he probably didn't see that much of a difference between science and magic.
Right. I mean, it kind of like proves that. Okay, Jack Parsons, the American rocket scientist and occultist, died on June 17, 1952 in an explosion at his home laboratory in Pasadena, California. He was handling chemicals when an accident occurred, causing a massive explosion that severely injured his face and limbs. He died shortly after being taken to the hospital. Some believe it was accidental due to his careless handling. Others suspect foul play. Given his controversial ties to occultism, espionage rumors, and conflicts within the scientific community, however, the official ruling was an accident.
See, that to me is maybe the best example of, because I mean, Stephen Greer does have like a technical degree. Robert Bigelow also did run Bigelow Aerospace, but this Jack Parsons to me is like the gold standard of somebody who saw the blurred line between these things that we're talking about. And then that leads us to our final thing, the original, the OG, unless we get into like ancient history and UFO angels and stuff.
In modern times, for sure.
Aleister Crowley and Lam, baby.
What was Lam?
For those that don't know, Crowley was an infinite occultist, claimed to have contacted an entity called Lam.
Oh, that's right.
During a ritual called the something working, in 1918, the Amalantrab working. Lam was depicted as a humanoid with a bulbous head and large eyes, strongly resembling modern gray aliens. Some UFO researchers believe that Crowley's occult work may have opened a portal, or the portal, that allowed alien-like beings to enter human perceptions. The entire UFO modern age might be the workings of old Satanists.
What year was this?
1918.
18. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And this whole time we're talking about it, I'm going to have a picture of Lam up. It's scary, dude. I don't even like looking at it. He sketched them out.
So there, okay, this makes me think of like all the old paintings that have supposed UFOs in them, or like orbs or balls of light, which before this would have just been interpreted as angelic or like heavenly beings, or like potentially like Lucifer in like the false light. I don't know enough about the history of the art to like, but like it would not be interpreted as a physical being manifesting. It was like an ethereal, or like, I don't know the right word. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't think there was, back in the day, the olden days, I don't think there was a huge, in their philosophy, I guess you would call it in modern terms, I don't think there was a huge difference between the physical and the non-physical realm.
That's
Hell
also
would be
true.
like a cave you go into. An angel would be like a person you meet. You know, you wrestle with God. You know, you're taken somewhere by angels. They come to your town and they eat your food. Like, we've kind of intellectually, maybe it's like Thomas Aquinas, we've kind of made everything ethereal, but a lot of the times in the old ways of thinking, these were just like basically different types of people. But you run this backwards. You have Aleister Crowley and his little gray alien in 1918 directly influenced Jack Parsons and the JPL, directly influenced Stargate and remote viewing, CIA, directly influenced Robert Bigelow, which directly influenced Stephen Greer and this new stuff with Jacob Barber. This shit goes back to Aleister Crowley.
Right.
This shit all goes back to a wizard. All of the science we're doing in relation to craft and reverse engineering them goes back to a literal wizard.
I saw a pretty funny sketch. It was like a guy on a first date, and the woman is like, "Yeah, I'm a Wiccan. I do my like spells and blah blah." And he was actually, it's a stand-up clip, and he was like, "If I went on a first date and said, yeah, I'm getting into wizardry and I find powerful sticks in the forest, and
dude,
that date would be over.
We gotta get the bros into wizardry. We gotta start.
It's a new.
Dude, that's so.
It's
true.
a new age for the homies.
That's so funny. If the bros went new age,
dude, that would create
the biggest dating. You literally like everyone's because they're always doing like spells on men and shit. Like they're little. Like, if we started doing it back and it was just like all the internet dating culture became us doing magic against each other. And we're like, we reject horoscopes. We believe in Odin. Like the wind god will destroy.
Let me cast my runes to see if this will.
Bro's got mad runes. You're right. And then even when guys get into that shit, they do the female magic.
Yeah,
they don't do their own wizardry. We don't do our
we try to like embody the feminine.
We never go full on
embody the sacred masculine.
Dude, for real.
Carry a trident with you.
That's such a funny concept.
This is kind of off topic, but not really, since we're talking about doing spells. I had an ex, and this is kind of a personal story, but I had this realization that it might not have been so innocent a thing. It might have been used in some type of magical or ritualistic way without my knowledge. We made love.
Yeah.
I shot ropes all over the place.
Oh my God. I can't believe that sentence is in this episode. Keep going.
Sorry, I'm locked in.
No, you're good.
And then I was like, do you have like an old t-shirt or a bath towel or something so I can clean up this mess I've made? And she got up and went to this little wooden box and opened it.
Oh no.
And pulled out like a silk embroidered delicate scarf handkerchief.
That's where she stores all her cum magic.
And made me clean it up with this like, and it was
specific.
And it was like an heirloom. It was like her grandma's silk. It was literal silk.
Oh,
scarf.
women be out here doing magic.
And I didn't see what she did with it because I went and took a shower after or something.
She took your power. There's been so much
cum
on that.
It's probably generations of cum have been mopped up with this silk rag. You can't even wash a silk rag. Right, but I don't know. It just like made me.
It made you think of summoning UFOs.
Well, now it did.
Okay, we love you. That's all you get for now.
Thug Life Certified.